It's no secret that video game development teams and companies and publishing companies want to make their money back plus more when it comes to video games. But what happens when they aren't so sure the game will be able to stand on its own? What's up, guys? Jimmy or Chaos, and today we're going to be looking at 10 video games that were actually caught straight up lying to your face for whatever reason, to sell more copies, I don't know. They did. That's what we're going to go over. Be sure to enter the monthly $200 Amazon gift card here on the channel. It's really easy to enter. All you have to do is like the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and turn on your notifications for a chance to win. Leave a comment why you want it with your Twitter handle, and I will pick the winner at the end of the month. Good luck. Kicking off our list of lies today at number 10 is the FABLE series. This RPG franchise started in 2004, and it was led by Peter Molyneux, and while the games were pretty solid, they were mostly remembered for being some of the most falsely advertised games of all time. It seems that every time a new FABLE game was coming out, Peter was right there to advertise features that weren't actually in the game. He said that there would be the ability to plant trees in real time. He said you could have children in the game. He even said it would have co-op. He said FABLE would be the most advanced RPG ever, and it would be the new standard for the entire genre. And the list goes on and on. Don't get me wrong, the FABLE series is solid. They're some of the best console RPGs ever made, but each one that came out was full of false advertising and lies, especially from Peter Molyneux. At number 9, this game has made so many lists this year, and a lot of them have been negative, and this one is the same. Okay, Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017. Now, the multiplayer aspects of this game have been talked to death already, but at least EA didn't lie to us about that part. And the MTs were awful, but at least they were upfront about how awful they were. What I'm talking about right now is the campaign. Leading up to the game's release, the single-player campaign was being marketed as an Imperial story as you played it as an elite trooper who was avenging the Emperor after his death in Episode 6. However, about an hour into the campaign, your character joins the Rebel Alliance, and the game becomes the standard good guy affair. People definitely weren't happy about it, the way EA marketed the game, as we've been waiting for a long time to hear stories from the Empire's point of view, and we really thought that is what we were getting this time around. But, as it turned out, the campaign was just yet another thing that Battlefront 2 got wrong. At number 8, we have The War Z. This is a game you may have forgotten all about. Released in 2012, developers OP Productions advertised this title be an open-world PvE zombie game where you and 99 other players could survive a zombie onslaught as long as you work together and forge the right materials. Unfortunately, this wasn't actually the game that was released, and what we actually got was just a really bland, boring zombie game with terrible optimization and in-your-face microtransactions despite the broken nature of the core game. Reception was so awful that OP Productions was accused of fraud, and the game was removed from Steam just 2 days after launch. After being reworked and re-released with the promised features they had promised all along, it was panned by critics and gamers once again for being a terrible game. The War Z has since been renamed to Infestation Survivor Stories and gets an average of 0.08 players per day. That's according to Steam charts, and that's pretty bad. At number 7, The Division. Now, take a look at this ad, okay? These quotes are pretty good ones, right? Well, unfortunately, they're not actually real quotes about the game. Ubisoft came under fire upon the release of The Division for a lot of reasons, mainly the insane downgrades from E3 to the actual release. But this was also a pretty shady act for them. That best new franchise quote from IGN is actually referring to the E3 demo, not the final game, and we all know how little of the actual E3 demo was actually in the final release. Then, that blows Destiny out of the water quote from GameZone is actually referring to the beta player counts, as The Division had more beta players than the Destiny did, which isn't really that impressive when you put it into context, because The Division's beta was on more platforms than Destiny, and the list goes on. Ubisoft definitely took some heat for this, blatantly taking quotes out of context in an attempt to sell their game. But that's not even the worst misquoting affair that we are going to talk about today on this list. At number 6, we have KANE and LYNCH. This subpar, and I say subpar, just say it very adamantly, okay? Third-person shooter was released in 2007 to average reviews and average sales, but it made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Leading up to the release, the official website for KANE and LYNCH had this image that said the link below, up to boast various 5-star reviews from gaming websites. However, it was quickly revealed that none of those reviews were real, and the devs had just taken a quote from each one of the real reviews and stamped 5 stars on top of them to make them look way better than they actually were. According to reports, the developers tried to defend themselves by saying that the 5 stars above each quote was just a graphic for the website, and they weren't actually there to try and mislead customers into buying their game. Yeah. You believe that? I've got something I want to sell you. Cracking into the top 5 today, we have COLIN McRae Rally 2013. This is probably the first time we've ever mentioned this game. This is a game that a lot of you may have never even heard of. The COLIN McRae Rally was a very popular racing series that later was renamed to Dirt, which a lot of you probably know. That's right. In 2013, developers Codemasters decided it was time to bring back the classics and remake the original game. COLIN McRae Rally was released for the PC in 2014 and was destroyed by critics and gamers because it wasn't actually a remake of the original game like advertised. Instead, the remake was just a port of a mobile game that had been released the year prior. Now, the backlash was so bad that Codemasters had to publicly apologize and offer refunds to those who bought it on the PC and change the Steam description to make it more clear that this remaster wasn't actually a remaster at all. At number 4, we have Battlefield 3. You may have been expecting Battlefield 4 to be on this list for its disastrous launch that got EA and DICE in a ton of legal trouble, but a lot of people forget that BF3 also had quite a bit of controversy upon its release. Upon the E3 reveal of Battlefield 3, Sony stated that everyone who bought the game on PS3 would also get a free download code for Battlefield 1943 as a bonus, and this promise was uttered multiple times leading up to the game's release as a way of getting more pre-orders. However, when the game came out, no one got their Battlefield 1943 code, and it was revealed that EA never actually had any intentions of giving people the game, and the whole thing was a blatant lie. A law firm called Edelson McGuire threatened to take EA to court for false advertising, sending them into a panic, and guess what? They sent out Battlefield 1943 codes to all the PS3 players as a way of avoiding the lawsuit. I mean, it's what they promised, right? But they had to be forced to actually do it. At number 3, Destiny 2. This online FPS was released as a follow-up to the very disappointing first game that lacked substantial content, but was praised for its expansions that greatly added to it. Destiny 2 was definitely much better at launch than Destiny 1 was, but Bungie and Activision got into really hot water with the way they handled the game post-launch. There have been seemingly countless instances of Bungie lying to players about how much XP they were earning or how much micro DLC would be added to the game. That's not even mentioning how much of a rip-off the first DLC expansion, Curse of Osiris, actually is. Recently, industry analysts have come out and stated that Destiny 2 is beyond saving at this point due to how pissed they've made the fan base and how little the players actually trust Bungie now after all of the dumb stunts that they pull, which is sad because the Destiny community was massive and they were passionate about that game, and then they just get ripped on and lied to by the actual game developers and publishers. At number 2, Halo 5. After Halo 4 was a huge disappointment for most of the community, 343 Industries knew they needed to bring the big guns for the next title, and as a build-up for Halo 5, they released a series of promos and ads that featured the tagline, Hunt the Truth. These ads showed off some very interesting conflicts between Master Chief and Spartan Locke and built up this huge showdown between the two, right? It was cool. Unfortunately, once the game came out, it was revealed that none of the events in the Hunt the Truth ads were actually in the game, and 343 Industries was hit with tons of backlash and accusations of false advertising, because they did. Frank O'Connor of 343 even had to come out and publicly apologize for the disconnect between the marketing and what was actually in the game, and all of the Hunt the Truth ads have since been removed from Microsoft's official YouTube pages. But the damage has already been done, and people are not happy with 343 or their parent company. Plus, things only got worse when you actually got Halo 5 and realized how little content was there. 343 promised there would be more free content to come, but it quickly became clear that it was all the free expansions that were just base content that had been cut out of the game in a lame effort to keep the players interested over time. It's really sad. And finally, I mean, how do you not put this at number 1? No Man's Sky. There was no doubt, right? It seems that whenever a development studio or game publisher is caught lying, they are instantly compared to No Man's Sky. For those of you who live under a rock, No Man's Sky was advertised to be this amazing online shared world exploration game that was procedurally generated, which meant it created a new, unique experience and transformed the way we played video games online. Unfortunately, when the game actually came out, almost none of the advertised features were there. The game was not shared world, there was no online multiplayer, and the game was bland. It was repetitive, it was extremely unstable, and the center of the universe was literally the exact same thing the developers said it wasn't going to be. No Man's Sky became the perfect example of how not to market a game, and the player base dropped off extremely quickly as the truth of how many lies came out. And there you have it, my friends. Those are 10 video games that lied straight to your face. Let me know some others that we forgot to put on this list. And as always, guys, if you enjoy these video game top 10s, drop a like, make sure you're subscribed, turn on those notifications, and I'll be back tomorrow night with a brand new one.